At the 2025 IMF Spring Meetings, Ethiopia's central bank governor, Mamo Mihretu, delivered what seemed like a glowing report card on his country's economic transformation. Standing confidently before international lenders and development partners, he outlined bold structural reforms, praised Ethiopia's shift to a market-based foreign exchange regime, and highlighted successes such as declining inflation, increased exports, improved private sector access to forex, and a renewed central bank mandate focused on price stability. However, when viewed through the lens of current domestic realities and a close reading of independent evaluations, the picture becomes far more complex. Much of what was claimed during the IMF meetings does not hold up under scrutiny or is at best an incomplete portrayal of a difficult and ongoing process. 1. Inflation reduction, statistics versus lived reality. Governor Mamo asserted that inflation had dropped from 30% to 13%, attributing this to tighter monetary policy and fiscal restraint, especially with the new Central Bank Act that limits direct monetary financing of government deficits. While headline inflation may have declined on paper, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Teff, Ethiopia's staple grain, now sells for as much as 165 ETB per kilogram, up significantly from an average of 44 ETB/kg in 2024, according to Tridge and Selina Wamuku. Similarly, the price of cooking oil, wheat flour, and vegetables remains out of reach for many low-income families. Inflation, especially for food and fuel, continues to erode real incomes. The new monetary framework may be technically sound, but it is also operating in a fragile and poorly diversified economy where structural inflation, driven by supply chain disruptions, import dependency, and conflict, is not easily corrected by central bank tools alone. 2. Foreign exchange reform, bold but incomplete. The governor's second major achievement was Ethiopia's shift to a market-based FX regime for the first time in 5 decades. This move, he said, had reduced the black market premium and encouraged private sector participation. In truth, while the official devaluation, from 56.85 ETB/USD in April 2024 to 131.97 in April 2025, has brought the official rate closer to the parallel market, currently 157 to 159 ETB/USD, the black market persists, an indicator that demand for dollars still far exceeds supply. Small importers and even essential service providers report continuing difficulty in accessing foreign currency from banks. What the new system has done is legalize some of the pain, but not fully resolve the underlying scarcity. 3. Remittances and reserves, questionable metrics. Governor Mamo claimed remittances had risen by 25% and that foreign reserves had tripled. However, these claims lack substantiation from independent data sources such as UNCTAD, the World Bank, or Ethiopia's own finance ministry. While it's possible that remittance channels have shifted from informal hawala systems to formal banks due to the forex crackdown, this would not indicate an actual increase in overall inflows. As for the claim about tripled reserves, no official reserve data has been published publicly to verify it. 4. Export growth, double or distorted? The governor's most ambitious claim was that Ethiopia had doubled its exports within a single fiscal year. Yet, UNCTAD's 2024 Trade and Development Report notes that average export growth across developing countries was around 5%, and there are no trade indices from WTO or other multilateral bodies to confirm such a jump for Ethiopia. Some anecdotal growth, such as a spike in gold exports or a strong year for coffee, may have occurred. However, the country's export basket remains narrow and vulnerable to shocks, with little value addition in agriculture or mining. A doubling of exports would have required a massive scale-up in logistics, market access, and production capacity, all of which are constrained by energy shortages, conflict, and bureaucratic barriers. 5. Private sector access to FX, a mixed bag. Mamo stated that liberalization had made it easier for the private sector to access dollars. While it's true that new directives allow exporters to retain a larger share of their forex and have increased the scope for interbank transactions, this has not solved the issue for non-exporting sectors. Many private companies, particularly in manufacturing and pharmaceuticals, still report delays in receiving foreign currency allocations. The government's strict prioritization of essential goods and the lingering effects of capital controls continue to stifle smaller players. Anecdotal evidence from diaspora traders and small business owners paints a picture of continued inequality in FX access. 6. Wages, utilities, and public pressure. Perhaps the most glaring omission from Governor Mamo's remarks was any mention of the domestic cost of adjustment. The Ethiopian government announced a 332% salary increase for civil servants in 2024 but failed to deliver it on time. Many public workers are still waiting, despite ongoing inflation and subsidy cuts. Meanwhile, electricity tariffs are set to rise by nearly 400% by 2028, with quarterly increases of 10% already underway. Fuel prices have risen 35 to 45% year over year. These changes have triggered widespread discontent, especially among urban populations already reeling from unemployment and layoffs in sectors such as broadcasting, textile manufacturing, and tourism. 7. Political context: reform without reconciliation. All of this is happening against a backdrop of unresolved political instability. Conflict continues in the Amharic-speaking zonal areas and Oromia regions, and relations with neighboring Eritrea and Sudan remain volatile. Ethiopia's federal arrangement is fraying, and a national dialogue process meant to foster reconciliation has largely stalled. In such an environment, even the best designed economic reforms are likely to struggle. Investment confidence depends on stability, justice, and credible institutions, all of which are currently under pressure. Policy success requires not just legal frameworks, but public trust and inclusive governance. Conclusion: between aspiration and accountability, Governor Mamo Mihretu's vision for Ethiopia's economy is ambitious and, in theory, strategically sound. The shift toward a rules-based monetary policy framework, inflation targeting, and market-determined exchange rates aligns with global best practices. But boldness without transparency, and reform without political will not be enough. The central bank and federal government must release verifiable data, prioritize inclusive growth, and recognize that genuine transformation must be felt in Mercado, in Jima, in Gondar, and in Jighiga, by workers, farmers, women, and the unemployed youth. Until then, Ethiopia's reform story will remain half-written, half-believed, and fully sponsored by fantasy, somewhere between a Netflix pilot and a state-run soap opera. Like, share, and subscribe, because someone's got to finish the script before the credits roll on Common Sense.